Have you ever gotten a bill for a single spine injection? You open it up and you just feel completely overwhelmed. Well, if that's you, you are in exactly the right place. In the next few minutes, we're going to turn all that confusing noise into a crystal clear signal. You'll know exactly what your bill is saying and, more importantly, what to do about it. And let's be real, that's what it feels like, right? You're staring at this explanation of benefits, the EOB, and it's just this jumble of codes and jargon. It honestly seems like it was designed to be confusing. But I promise you, there is a logic to the madness, and we are about to crack that code together. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to tackle why that EOB looks so messy in the first place. Then we'll translate the bill's special language. After that, we'll take a quick tour of the common codes you're likely to see. And finally, we'll put together your smart action plan so you can handle this with total confidence. Ready? Let's untangle this spaghetti. Okay, so this is the big question. How in the world does your one trip to the doctor explode into this long, long list of charges? You know, the first time I saw 4 different lines for what I thought was just one injection, I was absolutely convinced they'd billed me for 4 separate procedures. But nope, that's not what was going on. And here it is. This is the single most important idea to get your head around. Your bill isn't just for the procedure itself, it's also describing the context. You know, how the needle was guided, what meds were used, and even where it all happened. The moment you understand this procedure plus context idea, the whole bill starts to click into place. So let's break down that context a bit more. I want you to think of your bill less like a single statement and more like a chorus of voices, all singing about the same event. We just need to learn who is singing which part. This right here, this shows the disconnect perfectly. Your experience was simple. I had one injection. But the billing system, it tells that exact same story with a whole lot more detail, using its own special language of codes. So let's translate a couple of the most important words in that language. All right, first up, you've got your CPT code. Think of this as the main noun in your bill's story. It's the what. It's the label for the main thing you got, like the epidural itself. This part, usually pretty straightforward. But this is where things get tricky for a lot of people. The modifier. This is like the claim's grammar. It adds that all-important context to the CPT code. Was the injection on the right side or the left? A tiny little error here, like a missing or wrong modifier, is like a typo in a street address. It can send the whole thing to the wrong place and lead to denials or incorrect charges. Paying attention to these little 2-character codes is absolutely critical. And here's something that throws a lot of people for a loop. Getting 2 different bills for the exact same procedure can be totally normal. This usually happens when you have a professional fee, that's for the doctor's brain and hands, and a separate facility fee for using the surgery center's room and equipment. Same day, same injection, 2 totally separate and correct bills. Okay, you've got the concepts down. Now let's take a little tour of your actual bill and see how this all stacks up. We're going to look at the common code neighborhoods you're likely to run into so you can start spotting the patterns on your own statement. Now, don't worry about memorizing all these numbers. Just get a feel for the families, the categories. You'll see codes for epidurals, codes for facet or medial branch blocks, and codes for SI joint injections. And very, very often, you are going to see a separate line item for imaging guidance, like fluoroscopy, which is what the doctor uses to see where the needle is going. Now, facet joint billing, oh man, this is where you can really see those line items stack up. Why? Because they're billed by each level of the spine. So you'll see a base code for the very first level they treat, and then separate add-on codes for every single additional level. It really is like counting stairs on your bill. First step, second step, third step. And that brings us to what I like to call the emotional villain of spine injection billing, that imaging guidance code. I mean, you didn't feel the fluoroscopy, right? You didn't walk out of there talking about your lovely imaging experience. And yet, there it is, a separate charge on your bill, making you wonder what's going on. So here's the real pro tip. Instead of getting into a debate about whether the imaging was medically necessary, which is a tough argument to win, the much more powerful question to ask is a procedural one. Is this specific imaging code considered bundled with the main procedure? Or is it separately billable according to the rules of your insurance plan and that specific facility? That's the question. Okay, we've covered the what and the why. Now for the best part, the how. We're going to turn all this knowledge into calm, confident action. This is how you actually go about getting answers. But first, let's talk about the traps to avoid. These are the most common mistakes people make. Number 1, paying the first bill that shows up in the mail before you get that explanation of benefits from your insurer. Big mistake. Also, don't ignore those little modifiers, and don't automatically assume 2 lines means you were double billed. And please, don't try to argue from memory alone. And last but not least, avoid asking vague questions. So instead, here's your playbook, a simple 5-step review. 1, just list out every single line item. 2, try to identify which code family it belongs to. 3, check those crucial modifiers. Does it say right side, left side, what level? 4, if you got 2 bills, label them professional and facility so you know what's what. And 5, this is key, find the one line that seems the most off and focus your question right there. And this just shows you the power of being specific. A vague question like, why is my bill so high, is an emotional question, and frankly, it's easy for a billing office to dismiss. But a specific question like, hi, I'm looking at CPT code 64483 with a right side modifier. Can you confirm that's correct because my procedure note says the left side was treated? See the difference? That is a specific, solvable question that demands a real answer. So let's wrap this all up with the most important takeaway. That explanation of benefits that's sitting on your kitchen table, it is not a final verdict. It's a translation. It's translating a medical event into the language of billing. And you know what? Sometimes that translation is just plain wrong. Your job is simply to check its work. Look, your goal here isn't to become a professional medical coder. It's just to check if the bill tells a story that makes sense, a story that actually matches what happened to you during your visit. So take another look at that bill. With everything you know now, just ask yourself this one simple question. Does it tell a coherent story? That's where you're going to find your clarity. That's where you'll find your answer.